Just like everyone predicted, Mexico walks out of Group A with 9 points, 0 goals allowed. So how did Mexico win the group? Let's get into it. Today I got Nayib from Gold.com and Ivan Fernandez from LA Taco. Let's start with Nayib. What are your initial thoughts about Mexico winning the group with 9 points?
Well, first of all, hi to Ivan and Raul. Great to see you. Great to chat with you after unprecedented territory because I don't think even the most optimistic Mexico fan said 9 out of 9. I mean, I think, or even not conceding, you know, and that even Ochoa played his farewell game. His minutes, his cameo came and happened. That Mora started a game, I think, as well, at 17, and he looks really well. I mean, there was a point where he was the best player on the pitch. And I think that is remarkable that he's 17. I think Aguirre has a good problem because there are variations of players that he can use in the round of 32. And we'll see who the opponent will be because I think the opponent will determine really how he's going to go with his selection of players.
First of all, it's great to finally be here after the fiasco that was the other week. You tried to get me on board, and then all these technical difficulties on my end happened. Magically, they solved themselves. I did nothing to fix it, and here I am. So it's great to finally join you guys and be on the Colorful Kitten radio for the first time. Yeah, I mean the vibes are great. The vibes are amazing, and just I've seen, like, criticisms of people saying, like, "Oh, why do they keep celebrating all the time we win?" It's like, well, let's see, you've got your home team at home and winning, and also every game has been at home. It's, the 2 in the capital and then the one in Guadalajara. Like, how often are you gonna have all these back-to-back games of Mexico playing in Mexico? Well, it's only gonna be in this World Cup, so, yeah, why not
It's
celebrate it?
every
Why
four,
not have a
every
great
40
time?
years.
There we go. Every 40 years, exactly. So, yeah, like, why not celebrate it? And yeah, it's been a fun group stage. I know also some of the criticisms are of, Aguirre ball, which is like, "Oh, it's too defensive and this and that." It's like, well, at some point, you're gonna need that defense. You should probably practice it for the moment you need it, because we're gonna need it. And as Naib said too, once we know who the opponent is for the next round, then we can actually like figure out who will most likely be starting. Because yeah, I don't think there's a fixed 11. It's an 11 that's contextual, and I'm sure there'll be like that maybe like half the 11 we can expect to see, and then maybe the other half might be kind of like
Yeah.
maybe not, and so forth. But yeah, it's been a fun World Cup so far, and I've enjoyed it.
Well, let's just step back to South Korea. And I know anyone who follows Nayib on Blue Sky, you were very excited about that game in terms of the tactics of each manager. And Vasco kind of outsmarted the other manager. What are your thoughts on that and the tactics for that game? I mean, it was a little nervous. It looked like we had like 6 center backs in the field at one point.
Yeah, no, I think that game in particular was the inclusion of Romo, no, and how he was used in the game, and one of the reasons he was used, I feel, is because they were playing in Guadalajara, and him being home and back at his stadium. I think that was the important part, but also what he brings forward, no, with his ability in the midfield. I personally liked him how he plays in Chivas as a libero, and that's kind of where he hasn't played in the world. He hasn't played in the World Cup, and he's been stuck in the middle. And I think he's responded to Vasco's trust. I mean, he scored the goal against South Korea. He gave that sort of pass assist to Mateo Chavez in the first goal against Czechia. And I think that was kind of the surprise there. In South Korea, against South Korea, he didn't even use Fidalgo and Mora, so it goes to show you how, like Ivan says, the context of the game really has been well executed by the coaching staff in terms of understanding what the game requires and who can help. I think also that game was sort of very important for Edson Alvarez because we hadn't seen him play at that level since practically February, January. And for him to give that performance, it gave him a lot of confidence. And I think you saw that too against Czechia. That there was this confidence flowing in him and everything that required. And you
Just
know
to add a little bit more, Nayib, sorry to cut you off. That was Edson's first 90-minute performance since before Christmas, like early December. Was the last time he played 90 minutes. In fact, I think he's only played above 65 minutes twice since then.
no, and it goes to show you that you know. it's helped a lot Mexico, the fact that they have not moved from Mexico City. You know, of course, they went to Guadalajara, but they've been in Mexico City since what, mid-May, maybe? And Edson was one of the first ones to arrive from Europe because of the situation that he lived. I mean, he practically wasn't playing with Fenerbahce. So he arrived early. Wasn't supposed to arrive early, but he arrived early because he knew that he needed to get back into shape. And I think you're seeing those, fruits and benefits and these matches now.
Uh, Ivan, what's gonna be your thing that you remember the most from the game? Is it Romo's goal? Is it Talavera or not Talavera, Tala's double save? Is it Obed kind of with the
Right.
20-minute nice cameo? Like, what are you gonna look back and be like, "That's what I remember from that game"?
Definitely Raul Range's double save. Definitely Edson's Chilena save near the line, even though it was already offside. It's still, you know,
Yeah.
like you guys mentioned, it's the first time he's played a full 90 in over half a year. So for him to play that way after not playing for so long, it's like, okay, yeah, he's back. Forget about CR7. The guy who's back is Edson. But I think the biggest takeaway for me was just how much of a chess match that Aguirre set up. You know, he really set up a team to just negate South Korea in everything they did and just frustrated them. And you could see that even after the first hydration break, like just watching Mexico seed the ball, like they gave South Korea the ball and South Korea didn't know what to do with it. And it wasn't until maybe like the last 12 minutes of the game where they're finally like figured out like, okay, now we can do these long balls. And the best onside chance they had was at like the 89th that Rangel had his double save. And so for me, not just the players, but just the tactical setup really to negate South Korea's chances for the majority or like almost the entirety of the game was for me that like one of the big takeaways too.
One thing that I want to share with you guys, and I want to hear your thoughts is, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I think with Vasco, the team knows how to suffer. No, because
Yep.
yesterday with Czechia, there was some minutes where they had
Yes.
initiative, in South Korea too. And it was something that he ingrained in the team from the start. I don't I recall the Nations League a lot. First one ever that El Tri won after the US had won all of them. But the game against Canada, the team suffered, they were suffering against Canada. And I think that overcoming those moments, those specific moments in games is what makes Vasco's tenure, his third tenure with El Tri, exceptional because he's taught these players how to suffer. And I think that's gonna be important in the
Mhm.
knockout rounds.
But yeah, I would love for Aguirre to teach the fans how to suffer because I don't know if I can do that every week for
I
90
can't
minutes.
believe they booed him at halftime yesterday. I cannot believe that. Come on, man.
No,
Hmm.
Mexico City is tough.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder what effect that beatdown Colombia put against Mexico. Because I feel like since that beatdown,
Mm,
Vasco is like, "You see, guys, we can't do this. We can't." I feel like since then, he's like, "All right, we're gonna play 5, 6 in the back, whatever, but we're not getting scored on." And I feel like since then,
mm.
the team is like, "Yeah, we can't play that. We can't play pretty soccer. We can't." And that's okay.
That is
Boo
the
whoever
Yeah.
you it's
reality.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I've seen teams try to play pretty in this World Cup, and they don't have the skills to do it, and at least Mexico knows they can do it.
Yeah, and again, like it works, and it's again to what Nayib said, the Aguirre has really taught the team how to suffer because even yesterday against Czechia, how Aguirre pointed out that Czechia kind of changed their tactics. So instead of just focusing on like the long throw-ins and the set pieces, they actually put in like one or two guys who are actually like dribblers. And so that's how they were able to like surprise Mexico in the beginning of that first half. It's like, oh, they switched it up on us. And there was, I think, the one really good chance Czechia had in the first half that kind of like grazed past the post. And
Yeah,
again,
that
for
one
yeah,
it was a
yeah,
lucky
for us,
bounce, right? Wasn't it a lucky bounce?
yeah, it was totally bounce. Yeah, and again, for us, the fans, like, oh no, no, it's gonna happen. But like for the team, you look at them and they're just like, yeah, that happened. Goal kick, whatever. Like they seem so unbothered by like everything.
Kinda reminds me of, obviously way different talent level, but Cholo Simeone at Atletico Madrid, they just know how to play, and they're like, "We're gonna play this style." It's not pretty, but everyone on the field knows it, and it's just bought in. I know, listen to, Herculez
Yeah.
Gomez, he brings it up all the time. He keeps calling Mexico Mallorca, and that's I mean, in the terms of world football elite, Mexico is Mallorca. They're the little guy that couldn't they can step up every once in a while, but they're not the elite, you know? They're just if they play to their strengths, this is what happens.
And they're
Yeah,
home,
that's true.
and
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes that adds a lot of benefit, and it adds a little bit of motivation for the players as well. I think a clear example is Mateo Chavez. No, Mateo Chavez gets
Yes.
in the starting 11 yesterday, and his family's there in Azteca, and does a wonderful game. He doesn't back off. He's like, I'm gonna look at my opportunities, and he got one, and he made sure to put that in the back of the net.
Yeah, and that was wild too, because like, he's a left back, and he found himself on the right wing on that play. I'm like, "What? How do you end up there?" And I think it was off a corner or
it's because it
something?
was a corner
Yeah.
kick. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
he's a
So he
short
was
guy,
defending,
so
yeah,
they just told him yeah,
get to the front,
yeah,
and then he saw Romo out there fighting for that ball. He's like, "Oh, something could happen," and I'm glad he is, yeah, he just went for it, and that was his debut match in the World Cup, and he started, and he got his goal,
and
Nothing
now
but
let's just stick
amazing
to that
stories.
Czechia game. Yeah, and then the footage of his dad going crazy after he scored,
He
that
took his
was
shirt
nice.
off.
Took his shirt off, but, just moving on to the Czechia game, I mean, I know Mexico fans used to hate this word, but rotaciones, it was a little bit risky. I mean, we were just talking before the game started about Germany kinda looking like, "This game means nothing to us," and they didn't seem like they were into it. You bring in these guys from Mexico, and everyone was busting their ass,
Yeah, I
right? I mean,
mean,
it's just yeah.
It was the right
it
call.
it
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 was
it goes to show also the level of the players. I mean, for example, Israel Reyes. Israel Reyes has played you as a right back, as a right center back, and yesterday as a left center back, and he did so well. I mean, it's insane. And coming from a player based in Liga MX, I mean, of course, he's probably gonna end up going to Europe, but he's still Liga MX based. It was pretty remarkable to see how comfortable he felt. No, and it goes to show the level that he's in.
it helps to have, Aguirre
Against,
who, again,
Czechia, Ivan, any
mhm.
player surprise you the most? Was it Romo being able to fight up 7 guys to lay it off? I mean, what surprised you yesterday?
Yeah, Romo looking like the usual scene from, Supercampeones, the Oliver being surrounded by 20 guys. He's like, honestly, I think Mateo Chavez surprised me the most, especially for, I mean, he's what, like 21 or 20? He's very young. So for him to so he's like the second youngest next to Gilberto Mora. So for him to debut, play the way
A
that he did.
and he's like 5 years older than Gilberto Mora.
Oh, yeah. Second youngest is still that much. It's like, damn, okay. Dude, I was cracking up
Yep.
because dude, I was laughing because a friend of mine was talking about, Gilberto Mora, and I'm like, "Dude, like, you can see, like you can tell he's still a teenager from all the acne."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, this kid still has acne. Oh my god," and he's starting to get a World Cup. This is crazy. Yeah, but, next to Mora, I was
Anytime he did anything, I was just telling my family, that guy should be a high school junior." If you think about it that way.
Yeah.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, but for sure, Mateo Chavez, he really stepped up big time, and so as a fan of Chivas, seeing him just grow his game like that was amazing.
Nayib, I was looking at your player ratings, Mateo got an 8, so did a
Yeah.
couple other people in your player ratings. Who was, your player of the game yesterday?
For me, it was Morita. Morita, because the way that he grabbed the ball and just sort of commanded the midfield whenever, he sees things that nobody else sees. No, and I think it's pretty special to hear Jorge Valdano, who is an analyst for Telemundo, but also in TV Azteca in Mexico, that he always grabs the ball and danger is gonna happen. So as I'm seeing right now, Twitter's getting flooded with Ecuador, Ecuador, Ecuador. Mora has to start against Ecuador because you need a midfielder that it has to shake things up for Ecuador. Ecuador needs to be busy guarding Mora. And Mora is so smart that he already has an idea. Mora played against Vite already, Vite from Pumas. So, and Vite has been one of the remarkable players for Ecuador, I think, in the World Cup. So in a game against Ecuador, Mora starts, and I don't know who else starts, but for sure, based on what I'm seeing right now, I think Morita needs to start because you don't have a player like that. And I don't, at this stage, it doesn't matter. He's 17.
Let's just kind of move on to before we go talk about the round 30, possible round 32, just the group stage as a whole. I know it's happened once or twice before, but it's still kind of crazy to me that Vasco has gotten 25 out of those 26 players on the field. I feel like that's huge because now if he brings a player on against whoever we're playing next round, it's not like that player hasn't played in months. You know, he's fresh, he's seen some minutes. I guess what I'm trying to say is who's the MVP of the group stage? Is it Piojo Alvarado? Is it Quiñones? Is it Rangel? I feel like there's a lot of people who stepped up. Yes, Mexico does not have a superstar to carry the team, but I feel like a lot of players have stepped up in moments throughout the game. So
Yeah.
it's kinda hard to figure out who the MVP is. Ivan, who do you got? Who do you think is your MVP?
Oof, man.
I'll give you
Yeah,
2. You can go to a MVP and a runner up.
yeah, it's a really hard one, man. Goodness. 'Cause it really feels like, you know what? I'm gonna give it to Quiñones for sure.
Okay.
You know? He had good hold to play against South Korea, even though they every time he touched the ball, he had, like, 2 to 3 defenders just, like, on him immediately because they knew, like, "Oh, if this guy gets the ball and we let him do whatever he wants to, he's gonna score." And, opening goal and then the opening game, scored again yesterday. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Quiñones for the MVP of the group stage. Runner up, ooh, you know
You
what?
can also
I
say
was
that, Vasco. You can give it to Vasco if you want.
True, true. Yeah, what? I'll give it to Vasco. It was all his ideas, all of his tinkering and planning that got us where we are. Because again, yeah, I think we're like the 5th team in the history of the World Cup to do this. 5th team to win every group stage game and walk out with a clean sheet together combined.
I
Yeah.
actually have the notes on that. We are the 6th team to do
Hmm.
it.
6th. Okay.
Yes, Netherlands did it in the '70s, Brazil in the '80s, and Mexico, '86,
Wow. Okay.
Italy in 1990, Argentina, '98, Uruguay, 2018, and now Mexico, 2026. So,
Wow.
It's
Okay.
a special group. It's a special group.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nayib, who you got as your MVP?
Piojo Alvarado, hands down. I mean, I think that he is the reason the team works the way it does. I mean, and it's crazy to say it, but he's the guy that just shifts back so easily and just contributes defensive efforts like it's nothing. I mean, it's natural. And he's doing every single game. I mean, it's and even 2 assists to add to that too. And he could have I think Morita gave him a pass in the first half that if he would have been a little bit calmer, I think he could have put that in the back of the net easily. But I think that the style that Vasco implements with this team, it works because Piojo is part of the team, no? And let's be honest, I think also the season he had with Milito and Chivas carried over here. The form, the sort of tempo, the stamina. I mean, the guy looks like he can run 12 miles in every game, and there's no problem. I mean, yesterday he finished, and there was no problem. I thought he was going to get rest yesterday, actually,
Yeah,
but
me too.
at the end, the combinations with
Yeah.
Ochoa getting minutes, I think that was one of the reasons that Piojo had to stay on the pitch. But I think my MVP is Piojo Alvarado, and then runner up Quiñones, no, because 2 goals. I think we hadn't seen a striker from Mexico score 2 goals since Chicharito, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in 2010, I think it was, when, he scored in South Africa against Argentina and France. So I think since then, I don't think we've had a striker score 2 goals in a World Cup. So I think props to Quiñones, and hopefully he can tie the 4 goals that Matador scored in 1998.
I don't think that's far-fetched. I mean, he's a beast, and I know we talked about in the pod maybe a year ago or so, when we talk about him, he's playing the role. He's playing the role that he's good at, he's best at. He's not last summer, there was, like they were putting him out wide, making him a touchline winger, and it's like, that's not his strength. He needs to live in that in-between space between center forward and the wing. Like, I feel like that's where he does his best work, so I think it's just to be different from you guys, I'll give it to Eric Lira, just to be different.
Okay.
He didn't play last night, we didn't need him, but
Great
he
choice,
kind
though.
of
Yeah.
it takes a lot to, bench the captain. He essentially benched Edson Alvarez. I know Edson's not his best moment, but that's tough. That's tough to bench the national team captain, so I'll give it to Eric Lira, and I think, someone else will step up in the next game. It'll be none of these guys we talked about will be the player of the game next game. It'll be like Chino Huerta off the bench, 2 goals or something.
Yeah, we haven't seen
Because why
Mexico's
not?
Final
Why
Four.
not Chino
Yeah.
Huerta? Yeah, but I thought Chino was gonna play last night or something for Piojo. I didn't think Piojo was gonna play all 90 minutes, but last night, let's just touch on it, Memo Ochoa. All week, it was like all the Mexican journals were saying it was either, "Yes, he deserves to start," or, "No, this is the World Cup. It's a joke if he starts." It went back and forth, back and forth. I'm glad Mexico kind of had their cake and ate it too. Rangel got the start, 75 minutes, up 2-0, bring in Memo. It was beautiful. Nayib, what are your thoughts on Memo getting that moment?
Oof. No, I think it's well deserved. I feel that what he has meant, especially from 2014 onwards. I mean, he's been a spectacle to watch. No, even 4 years ago in Qatar against Lewandowski, that penalty save. I think was remarkable. He is an example of a player that you can easily say that many of the current ones in the roster look up to, no? And, yesterday after the match, Mateo Chavez said it, Gilberto Mora, Obed Vargas, they all talked about him being an idol, no? So for him to get that opportunity to get some minutes and to get a proper farewell, because it was a proper farewell at the end of the day, the dude debuted at Azteca and he retired at Azteca, no? And he put an end in Azteca, in the stadium that he always loved and cherished. And, I think that he's been a great example, and hopefully Tala Rangel will be able to be a great successor, by going to Europe after the World Cup, no, and really making a name for himself in European football.
Ivan, I know you're a
Yeah.
Chivas fan, but come on, gotta give Memo some props.
No, for sure. I'm an objective Chivas fan. Don't worry.
I don't
My
think that
my my
exists, but go on.
I'm a journalist too, so I know how to put the fandom aside through a lot of training. Maybe I'll start a school for that, and I'll charge people to learn how to be a fan, put that away, and then be a journalist. Put that inside while you talk. No, yeah, for sure, dude. Just supporting the national team my whole life means you're going to support Ochoa no matter what club you support. For sure. Beautiful moment. I want to point out how at the end of the game when after like Acevedo and the coaching staff start saying like congratulating him, they give him a hug. Rangel, you could see him like before the camera cuts away, like Rangel walks up, he does this to Ochoa. He does the whole like we're not
Yeah.
worthy. Another beautiful moment. And I was like, I
That
wish the
was
camera
nice.
had. Yeah, I wish the camera had lingered longer on that, but it was great. And also, that third goal by Fidalgo doesn't happen without Ochoa. Long, the
Yeah,
long kick to the right-hand side where Santi and Alvarado are at, they set up that play perfectly. It begins with Ochoa. So again, like you give the guy 15 minutes and he helps get you with another goal in the game. Like, what more can you ask for?
it was a perfect ending. I mean, it's I was on the fence on I wasn't sure if he should start. I was just kinda like I didn't want Mexico to lose that momentum, but what I wanted to happen did happen. Mexico was comfortable. They put him in. He got the ovation, and it didn't affect anything. I mean, the only thing that it affected was maybe giving, like, Chino Huerta 10 minutes or something. Because like, I'm sure he one of those guys was ready to come in, you
Yeah,
know? But
Yeah.
it
they'll
was
be
nice.
fine.
It
They'll
was
be
a nice
fine.
moment, and yeah. Yeah, it was, I was excited. It was a nice touching moment. I'm a big Memo fan. If anyone can get their hands on that Memo patch that he was wearing on his jersey, let me know. I hope they sell that because I will buy that. I'll put it on this. I'll put it on this jersey. That's a cool patch. I'm happy for him, and yeah, so let's move on to the next round. I don't think Memo's gonna be starting, so but shout out to Memo. Who are we going back to the South Africa lineup? Is that the start? Is that the base of the Mexico team this? Or is it Morita has to start, Nayib? I know you want Morata to start.
Uh,
Who is your midfield? Let's say we're playing that 4-3-3. I know it changes, but let's just say it's a 4-3-3.
well, it's I think Johan and Montes start on the center backs, and that already puts a thing on the Edson Lira, no, and that's where I'll have my doubt. I don't know if it's gonna be Edson or Lira. and then oof, Fidalgo. You got Fidalgo, Brian, and Mora too. So it's. I think the top three is Raul, Piojo, and Quiñones. That
Yeah,
stays.
that's
But
not
on
changing.
the midfield, it's where I'm a little bit. I'm still not complete. I know Mora starts. I don't know about the other two.
I feel like the midfield is what dictates for Mexico if it's gonna be offensive or defensive. I mean, I know it's always a defensive base,
Absolutely.
but, like, if you start
Yeah.
Romo, if you start Lida and Edson, alright, you're gonna sit back. You're planning on
Yeah.
absorbing damage. If you start Lida or Edson, and then you have room for Brian, Fidalgo, or more, then it's like, "Okay, we're gonna have the ball more. We're gonna be a little more proactive in this game." But, I mean, I don't know who you start because you're telling me that
It's not easy because
no.
you can't take out. I mean, the easy would be maybe go with Edson, because of his captain and leader. Okay, go with Edson, then Hidalgo and Mora. But then you think, man, Brian has been really good as well. The tempo that Brian brings to the midfield, and like you said, I mean, Raul Lira was an MVP as well. The
Yeah.
first two games without Lira, I don't know what happens. That's how important Lira was. Lira was like our Gattuso, and I think when he has that type of role and that type of personality, you don't want to leave him on the bench. So it's gonna be a tough decision for Vasco. I mean, we could see someone like Edson Alvarez on the bench. I mean, because I don't know, Montes yesterday was pretty good. I think I saw some passing from Montes that was special,
The defense,
but
yeah.
they could sacrifice that, and Vasco can be. You know what? If I start Reyes as a right back, and then I start Edson, and then Johan, and I got some solidness, and then we know that Piojo's probably gonna do some work on the wing. So, don't discard the idea that Montes can be benched for Edson to start, and which would allow Lira to start, in the mid.
Yeah, I think if you start Edson and you start Reyes at right back, you always have the option of pushing Edson up into the center, having Piojo drop back if you need him as a right back, right wing back, and this defense is solidified. I don't It's just you have options. Ivan, who's in your starting?
Oof.
I guess starting midfield, to
Yeah.
be specific, because that's honestly, if we really talk about it, the starting 3, Jimenez, Quiñones, and Piojo, that's there.
Yeah, that's that.
The
Yeah, for
fullbacks are
sure.
there. Fullbacks, Gallardo, Reyes are there. The
Yeah.
goalie is there, Rangel is there, and
Mhm.
then Johan is there. So it's
Yeah, and the
basically who's the center back pairing and then who's the midfield. That's the only questions I have.
ooh, so yeah, who are the 4 players in that scenario? Oh, man.
And a lot of
Goodness.
them are interchangeable. Edson can play in the middle, he can play back.
Mhm.
It's yeah, the only thing I don't think Romo start I think Romo's out. I don't think he's starting in this game, and
Yeah, he's out.
honestly,
Yeah.
last night, the first half, I was like, "Where's Obed?" But it
That's
got
another thing. Also with Vasco is the insistence with Romo. I mean, it's getting to that point where it's like, shoot, what if he does start
well,
against
in the
Ecuador?
post-game interview against South Korea, he said it was between, Vargas and Romo. It was a last-minute decision to go with Romo over Vargas. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I get it. Romo had the goal in the second game, and then he had that assist last night. I would rather have Obed in there, but it's hard to say that it's hard to this lineups are hard because I don't know of a player who has struggled for Mexico in this World Cup.
Mhm.
Maybe Memote a little bit last night, but that his role was there to be,
Different, yeah.
defensive and
Yeah.
frustrate
The
Czechia with his
enforcer.
size. So I can't think of someone who's like, "Oh, man, they really dropped the ball." Jorge Sancho's maybe, I guess, a little bit, but I don't know. Ivan, who's your midfielder? Who's your midfield?
Oof. I mean, I wanna see some more fluidity through the midfield, whether it's, no matter who the next team is. So, for sure, it would have to be Lida to help set up all the plays and the passing and work, work that way. So, I would probably oh, man, because Fidalgo, Mora, and
It's
Brian, are
tough.
they
It's
all
tough.
they are
It's
I know,
tough,
like,
bro.
are they also on the left side or the right side? They're also on the left, aren't they? All 3 of them.
Fidalgo is played on the right of the midfield.
Okay.
So, I mean, so has Brian,
Okay.
but they usually put him on the left.
Interchangeable. Yeah. So I'm trying to think
Yeah.
what the strengths would be. It's like, well, Maybe you could do Fidalgo and Brian, and they could just keep swapping sides.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
so I'm looking at the lineup against Portugal right now. In the midfield was Lira, Fidalgo, Vargas, Brian Gutierrez, and Pioja Alvarado, and Jimenez up top. Quiñones wasn't even a starter in that game.
correct.
Quiñones starts right now, right? But like the fact that he used Gutierrez, Vargas, Fidalgo, Alvarado, and Lira goes and makes me think of like he could use Gutierrez in some. I mean, do you think that he would sit Raul Jimenez? Maybe
No,
put Quiñones in that
Mhm.
position
no.
just to add more midfielders?
Don't even speak it into existence, bro.
Or maybe
I
he
just I
just
don't
tells,
see Jimenez not starting.
yeah, or unless like he gives like he tells Raul and Julian, go ahead if you guys want to swap positions when in the middle of play, go for it. Like let Raul play the wing, Quinones runs up the middle as striker just to confuse the defenders. That could be a thing too.
Raul dropping back into the false nine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
He's
you have
not his
options.
first or his last.
Yeah. The benefit of having, Edson on the bench is anything happens to the center backs, he can come in. Anything happens to the midfield, he can come in. Like, he can do either. So it's like you have that in the whole case. I mean, we're Mexico fans. In case someone gets hurt in the 15th minute of this game, like, you have options with him. So, I
Yeah,
think
yeah. I mean, the amount of options we have with a team, period. Like, I don't think we've seen the team's final form yet. Like I keep thinking of Mexico's first half against Belgium a few months ago. Like, I have never seen the team play that way, like, just, like, nonstop, like, rayos, like, from vertically, and, like,
yeah.
that was a game where we could have won, like, 4-0 by the first half. I was like, "Whoa, where did this team come from?" You know?
And that midfield was Lira, Gutierrez, Hidalgo,
Wow.
I
And we
think.
had, yeah, Pineda was on the wing, I think. There was a lot of, like, really swift passing
Yeah,
and running on
Pineda
that.
was also.
Yeah. There was a lot of just, like, very fast, like, just very fast plays, very fast countering. I think Jorge Sanchez
Yeah,
started
so
that one.
that midfield was, that midfield was Lida, Fidalgo, Gutierrez, and then you had Quiñones and Pineda on the wings, and then, Jimenez.
Okay.
Pineda's not playing. I mean, he's not
Yeah.
starting. If he
No.
starts, tenemos problemas. Guti can start. I think Vasco really likes Guti. He sees him as more of a two-way player than maybe Fidalgo and Mora.
Definitely.
I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
definitely. Just like Romo.
I think Mora is off the bench option. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe
Yeah, yeah. No, no, and it's okay. I mean, the thing with Mora is there's just pop on the pass. Like there's pop when he grabs the ball. Like the way that he gave that pass to Jorge Sanchez is like insane because Jorge just saw the space and ran. And Mora, what he did is he made sure the ball hit Sanchez with his run. I mean, no one can do that pass. I mean, well, of course, Pedri, Gavi, these big players. But in Mexico, the only one that can do that pass is Mora. And I think that you gotta find a way to just include them and see. And then even if it means that, for example, Brian Gutierrez comes off the bench in the second half or something, if it's that, because I think Fidalgo starts because you need Fidalgo his possession. He does that quiet work of not losing the ball.
I would
So
be happy to see Lida, Fidalgo, and Mora. One of the things I didn't like last night was Romo did not connect that well with Mora, but Mora with Fidalgo and Mora with, Gutierrez, they've connected well before in the past in the
yeah,
midfield, like, the movement. So I would if you start Mora, don't give me a double pivot. Just don't. Like, I don't wanna see Lida and Edson and then Mora. I don't want him to, "Well, we're protecting Mora with defensively." Then he's by himself. Like, he needs someone in the midfield to play off of. I think that suits him more.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could Lita maybe even, like, play a little bit more forward in that kind of a midfield, or do we think Lita just stays as a second pivot with Edson?
If it's Lida and Edson, I'd rather have Lida push off than Edson. I love Edson, but in the past, Mexico's
100%.
midfield has been trash, so I know he tries to do too much, like, he tries to go forward, and that's when he gets in trouble, I feel like. He is better as a destroyer. Don't try to be a distributor. That's what I think with Edson, but it's nice to
Yeah, I
have
agree with you.
options, no? It's
It
it's
is,
nice
it
to have
is, it
options.
it is, and then I think that is also a win for Vasco. No, that like you said, 25 players played. We haven't even mentioned Luis Chavez, no, which of course He's coming off an injury, but he's lefty. No, he is, your your designated lefty. And so he can come in as well at a certain point in the game if required.
It's
How
just
about,
it's nice to have options, you know?
yeah,
It's nice to be included, it's nice to have options.
Lida Mora Chavez in the
Looking
midfield?
ahead, as long as we don't have Vega, on the wing or Pineda or something, I feel confident. But in Vasco, I trust at this point. Like, I
Whatever
can't
he
even.
does, it works. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. So, looking ahead to the round of 32, obviously, we're recording this after Ecuador beat Germany. So, as of right now, Ecuador is the favorite to play Mexico. That can change. I'm not scared of Ecuador or Scotland. Give me Scotland because I think they'll wilt in the Mexico heat. I don't think you change how you play for either of those teams, Nayib. It doesn't really matter. I think at that point, it's Mexico can play. They don't need to play to their opponent. What do you think on that?
Uy.
Because these games have all been, we're playing this style because we're playing these guys.
Yeah.
Memote is starting because Czechia is tall. I feel like going forward, it's like, okay, you need to win.
I think, like you said, whether it's Scotland or Ecuador, El Tri will need to take the initiative, no? And they have to go, the way that they played probably those first 20 minutes against South Africa, that's kind of the way that they got to sort of see themselves in the knockout round against either of these sides. To be honest, I am a bit preoccupied with Ecuador. And the reason I say this is because these are players that really understand playing in atmospheres like Azteca. When for example Ecuador goes to Colombia, when they go to Argentina or Brazil, those are hard places to play at. And what has characterized Ecuador is solidness in the back. They have some of the best defenders right now. I mean, they got Hincapié, they got Pacho, they got Ordóñez. They got players that are not scared of those moments. And they got a midfield like Moises Caicedo. And like I said, Vite, they
Yeah,
know
beat
how
the
to
balled out.
they can ball, and so their problem had been the scoring, against Curacao and against Ivory Coast, but they did develop plays. I mean, it's not like they didn't create plays to score. I mean, they were just the ball just didn't want to go in. And against Germany of all teams, the ball did go in. And so now they're on this rush of excitement and rush of adrenaline that they feel unstoppable. This is a Copa America match. Like, it's a Copa America match. And it's the first time that Mexico has the opportunity, because it was always Mexico going to South America and playing these tough games and beating Uruguay, beating Brazil, beating Argentina, beating all these teams over there. Now you're home. This is your moment. You gotta, there's a lot of analysts that had Ecuador as a dark horse in this World Cup because of what I'm saying about the defense and everything. This is a moment, if you really want to do history, you're gonna start. It gets tough at the start of it. You ain't got no little break here that you gotta need. No, this is as tough a test as you can possibly ask for, because it's a team that doesn't need to adapt too much. They understand the altitude. Certain players in the squad already played in Mexico, so they know the atmosphere by heart. So it's a tough challenge if it's Ecuador. Scotland is different. It's way different,
Yeah,
because they
Scotland got
those
beat down. Their
yeah,
confidence is low. Brazil did whatever the hell they wanted to them. So I'm not scared
Yeah.
of Scotland. I mean, I see your point about Ecuador. They're a little more adapted,
yeah.
but Ecuador, they didn't score against Ivory Coast. They didn't score against Curacao. Ivan, are you scared of Ecuador?
You know,
And
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 I've
by
been scared.
scared, I mean, are you just? Is it just
Concern,
you're
concern.
concerned?
Concerned, yeah.
Yeah,
I've been scared every game just because it's like that's just who I am. And
That's
also it's like
that's
and then,
realistic.
just
that's the best take of the whole show.
I'm like yeah, it's like I'm like that. Did you guys ever see that video of like some guy in like Ciudad Juarez who got arrested by the police and they kept taking him from like a different jail like repeatedly until like the journalist like stopped the cops and like talked to him. He's like, "Tengo miedo, tengo miedo." That's how I am every game before the game starts. Every game from the first whistle to the last whistle, dang, like, oh, we're up 3-0. Tengo miedo. Just it's just the PTSD of being a Mexico fan. It's like, oh well, 10 more
That's
minutes.
true.
Yeah.
Oh no. Man of the match, Ecuador Curacao was the goalpost. This Germany squad today, like that was that was like rotated, right? That was a rotated squad, if I'm not mistaken. Like half the team weren't
I mean,
starters, maybe.
There was some
There was a
familiar
mixture.
faces, no,
Well,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't this
Like,
this is who started for Germany. It's a Nor, Kimmich, Ta,
mm,
Rudiger, Ram, Pavlovich, Mecha, Leroy, Musiala, Wirtz,
that's funny.
Havertz. So the midfield is a little
Mm,
rotated, but
yeah,
And you know what was different with Ecuador today, based on what I saw? They started Angulo up top, and Angulo gave them another sort of valve in the attack, in the flow, because
yeah,
Valencia
yeah,
was carrying so much of that attack. And poor Valencia, I mean,
yeah.
he's what, like 38, 39 or something. And he's just not in it. But now he had someone to accompany him in the forward in the attack. So also
Yeah,
got
that first goal was
Plata and
Angulo, right?
Jeboa.
Yeah,
Yeah, Angulo was the one that scored. So
yeah,
they got weapons. They got weapons, man.
yeah. Yeah, and then too, the second goal by Ecuador really blew me away because it's like the reflexes a human being needs to respond to that corner the way they did. I'm like, "This is like a there's a cat on the field. What's going on?" Because it was, I believe, a corner and then a header, and the ball was, like, basically going towards Neuer, and like, Neuer's just, like, staring like, "Oh, here it comes to me." But no, like, all of a sudden, you see, like, some guy's foot just, like, smack the ball away, like, right in front of his face, and
yep,
it's yeah,
yeah,
and it
right
goes
in front of
right,
him.
like, right barely past the crossbar. It's like, dude, like, the reflexes and just the wherewithal to do that, I'm like, that's where Ecuador is really scary. Like, they're very creative when it comes to just being, like, on the edge of their seats kinda plays like that. That's what really worries me.
They
Yeah.
were tenacious as well. I mean, look, right now El Tri will have the fan base. Not being home, I think that has to be drilled in. You're home, you're home, you're home, you're home. And with that, this has to be where the crowd really plays a big role in pushing the team, no? Because they got to intimidate Ecuador that they're coming to Mexico City. I mean, they got to feel it. And I think that starts from the minute they land in Mexico City. I mean, cohetes outside the hotel, banda, man, let them feel it. Let them feel it. Welcome to Mexico. And I think that's going to be part of the game plan as well.
Yeah.
Shoot, the FMF has a lot of money, man. They gotta buy the cohetes and give them to the fans. But
You know,
you really have to make that home field
yeah.
advantage felt.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna be out there, next week in Mexico City for both knockout games. I don't have tickets to the game, but I just wanna be out there for the atmosphere and just, it's like once in a lifetime chance, the next time Mexico hosts,
Yeah,
I'll be
well,
like
Ivan, you're
80.
you're not gonna
So,
sleep. You're not gonna sleep, Ivan. So better get that sleep right now, because you ain't sleeping over there.
I'll have the giant, like, the burro with the fireworks, like, "Here we go,
Hell yeah,
vamos!"
that's
That'll
what's
be
up.
me on TV.
You get prosecuted, this podcast will be used in court as evidence.
It's like, "Lord, hey, you guys planned it. Here's the evidence, the colorful kit, minute 48." It's like, "Oh, crap."
Well, we'll get us out of here now as the next round of games is just starting. But
Ooh,
Naib, I'll give you the final word before we sign off for the episode.
We'll support the team. You look, there's a lot of good vibes. I think Ivan said it. There's a lot of good vibes. Enjoy it. I think that it is okay to dream. And then, if the 17-year-old is talking about being champions and, believe it, believe the 17-year-old. It's not wrong. Believe on the 17-year-old. I think that, he's our star and he's gonna take us to the top, man. Why not? I mean, the kid looks so confident and mature that I think that anything is possible as long as we have Morita.
So, imaginemos cosas chingonas. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With Morita.
Well, Ivan, we gotta make sure you share all the happenings next week when you're in Mexico City, man. Make sure you bring me back some dulces, anything good like that. Where can the people
definitely.
follow you as you take this journey next week?
On social media, I'm Afro Xander, and that's, Xander with an X, not a Z.
Naib, where can
And,
the people
yeah.
find you and your stuff? I know you're doing stuff for gold.com.
Yeah, so we've been doing some stuff for Go, and we posted right there on Blue Sky. Nayib Moran, right there.
You can find me at the Colorful Kit. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see when we actually figure out who the hell we're playing. Maybe we'll do a quick one when we figure that out. Enjoy the last week of this. When you have 6 games a day, like just live it up, man. Until next time, later, guys.
Ciao, ciao.